Friendship, for example, is a real gift.
It's an insane world. In it there is one sanity, the loyalty of old friends.
You're the best friends anybody ever had.
Lone bad friend, good.
Bubba was my best good friend. I had to make sure that he was okay.
Friendship and family, these are the things that matter.
Can we just become best friends?
Yep.
Touch my friends again and I'll blind you. Thanks, Mike. You're my best friend here.
Lose one friend, lose all friends, lose yourself.
We ride together, we die together. Bad boys for life.
That's what friends are for, right?
Friends? Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
If you're not over here in 15 minutes, you can find a new best friend. You've been saying that since the 5th grade.
Welcome to the I Am Your Friend podcast. I am your host, Aiden Licker. Thank you so much again for tuning in for another exciting episode of me talking for an hour. Got my Spotify Wrapped for Spotify for podcasters. So for those of you who listen on Spotify, thank you. I made it into the top 5 podcasts or top podcast, whatever ranking it is. The top podcasts for, I think it was 5 people, maybe 4 people, which is cool. I'd be curious to know who that is. That I'm like one of the most regular podcasts you're listening to. Pretty cool. Thank you so much. It's the holidays. That's exciting. I've talked about it on the podcast before. I think it was last year. I remember because I made a clip of it, of me talking about how I used to hate the holidays. And now I love them. And I shout out therapy for that, for healing some wounds, if you will, that came with some childhood stuff. But when I was a kid, I loved Christmas like so much, and then as I got into adulthood, I started to hate it for some reasons, and now I've come back. And this year now this is my first time being in New York City for the holidays. I've been here for every other season, even before like living here, and now I'm coming up on a year of being here, and the holidays in New York are different. New York City goes hard for Christmas. Like, I've noticed it's I didn't know this was a thing, but like a lot of bars really go hard in decorating for Christmas. I went to the Dead Rabbit recently, which is at like the very bottom tip of Manhattan in the financial district, and it's an Irish pub. Huge Irish pub. For people in Buffalo, kind of the closest thing I can compare it to is like, it feels kind of like the Blackthorn, but like, New York City. So it's a little spruced up, and they got like live, like Irish folk music and stuff. It seems like a place Hozier would do like a pop-up surprise performance. He does that. And they go all out for Christmas. It is great. They completely like convert the pub into like a Christmas bar, which is really fun, and it was really cool. I love the lighting of Christmas lights. Not talked about enough, I feel like, about what it does to a room. I'm a lighting guy, I've got Philips Hue lights all throughout my small little apartment here because I like setting the vibe. Now, for the podcast, obviously, I just kind of set everything to white here so that you can see my face. But when I'm chilling, I go through, I cycle through some different vibes. You can get all these different colors and stuff. So I'm a lighting guy, I would say. I enjoy good lights. My parents do not. My parents, when you go to my parents' house, it looks like a doctor's office. They remodeled their house a few years ago, or the main area of their house, and got all like recessed lighting and everything. And my dad loves to put that shit on white and 100%. We got like special dimmers, like smart dimmers and everything, so that you can you don't have to put it all the way on. You can just like tap it and increase as you go, so that it doesn't like blind your eyes. Because there's one thing that drives me nuts. It's if there's like a dark room and then, fluorescent doctor's office-esque lights come on. But not my parents, though. They love when that happens. And they do it all the time. But that's what they enjoy in life, and that's fine, I, however, like a vibe, a visual, well-lit vibe. Not too well-lit. I appreciate a dimmed lit vibe, But Christmas lights, like the string lights, I think might set the perfect vibe. I think that's like exactly, it's never too bright, not the LED ones or whatever they are. They're like there's some that are like super white and super bright. They're like the ones that are like warm toned. The Dead Rabbit had those all over, like the beams of the entire building back and forth. Super fire. I really enjoyed going there. Had a Guinness and an Irish coffee, which is really delicious and, warm and cozy. And I like being warm and cozy. Anyway, New York, Christmas time, there's just an energy in the air that is really nice. And it's really making me tap in to my childhood whimsy, There's I'm feeling a little childlike lately in the Christmas spirit here, and I really enjoy that. It feels good to feel that again. I was having a conversation with some of my work friends about our favorite Christmas movies. Now my number one is a bit of a deep cut, which shouldn't surprise anybody because of who I am as a person, but I really love the movie Scrooged from 1988, starring Bill Murray. Shout out to it. It is a like modern retelling of A Christmas Carol, where this dude who's like a TV executive, who's like a real dick, and he comes in and is being a dick to everybody, and then he gets visited by three ghosts, as the story goes, and then, spoiler alert from this 1988 film that tells a classic story that everybody knows. The end of the movie, he comes around and is like, oh yeah, I do love Christmas, and I love love, and this rocks. And I like that movie because it reminds me of myself, with everything I just mentioned about how, like, what I went through in my life. Loved Christmas as a kid, hated it as a young adult, love it again. Feel like I kind of went through my own Christmas Carol kind of vibe. And, it connects with, like, this dude who was, like, working in entertainment and all this stuff. So, who took, like, his work too seriously. A thing I realized in therapy was that I have an addictive personality, but instead of, while I have good control over drugs and substances and things, my addiction that I choose is working. And that's not just like going to my job. It's also this, like podcasting and like going on tour and like just saying yes to every opportunity I have to like create and build and work. And yeah, I don't know what that is, but it gives me an overwhelming sense of purpose. And if I just keep working, that I don't have to sit with my feelings. While we're on the topic of getting a little deeper, that's what we do here on the I Am Your Friend podcast, to let everybody know that, hey, you're not alone. I think about this stuff too. A big challenge for me this year mentally was feeling my feelings, which I feel like sounds ridiculous saying it out loud. And maybe, you can't relate to that because maybe you're like, I have so many feelings. I feel them all the time. What are you talking about? I'm a person who chooses to intellectualize my feelings instead of just feeling them, which is not good. So that was a thing that I have been working on, and I feel like I've been getting pretty good at, to be honest. So kind of cool. Anyway, what was I talking about? Yes, Christmas. And Scrooged, and my friends and I were talking about the Christmas movies that we like, and the Polar Express came up, and I found that the Polar Express is a polarizing movie. I love the Polar Express. A lot of people do not, but I have a specific memory that I remembered through this conversation of my younger brother and I getting up on Christmas morning, and I don't know, the Polar Express was like a newer movie at the time, so I want to say this is like 04, 05. We had just moved to West Seneca from South Buffalo. The first time I had my own bed. It was an exciting time in my life, I think I was around 9 or 10, and my brother and I woke up and we were like mad excited. I think it had to be 04, so I'm going to say 9. This was the first Christmas in the new house, I think. We had moved in October, I want to say, maybe we moved in December. None of this matters. Listen, 04, waking up, new house. Christmas is exciting. I remember this being like the peak of like my Christmas wonder as a child. And my brother and I both woke up mad early, like 6 a.m. And if you know my little brother, that is like crazy, because my little brother is the type of person that like if he doesn't have a reason to get up, he's not getting up till 4. p.m. And we got up and it was like, obviously we were at an age where it was like, all right, we know this is too early to be up, but we're excited. We can't fall back asleep. We don't want to wake our parents up because, we know that this is way too early. So we have a TV in our room. It was like a box TV with like a curved screen on it, not like a curved monitor. I'm talking like not a flat screen TV, pre-flat screen. It had a VCR built into the TV, and we had like a DVD player connected to it. The DVD player sat on top of the TV, like not stable at all. It was like leaning. It was like on an angle, hanging. Like the wires were keeping it up there, because that's the type of vibe we were on back then in 04. A DVD player, that was a new thing to us. So, but we had a DVD of the Polar Express. And my brother and I decided to put it on to kill time in the meantime. That movie's only like an hour and a half. So we watched it twice. And that is why I love that movie so much, I think. Is just like, it reminds me of being excited for Christmas. And I think The Polar Express is the most perfect Christmas movie. I might say it. I just said it. So I don't know why I'm not committing to it. I'm committing to it. Polar Express is the most perfect Christmas movie. I don't think there is a Christmas movie that does it better. Now, I also love A Christmas Story, which I know is also a movie a lot of people hate. But I think people just hate it because they do like the whole 24 hours thing on cable TV every year on 2 different channels, which is kind of a lot. But there's a reason they're doing that, and that's because I think it is the most relatable. It's like the most real Christmas movie. It's like so relatable. Of like this family, this like working class family in the Midwest, and like their Christmas journey, and this like young kid who is the prime age of like, where that Christmas wonder that I'm talking about like kind of starts to wear off, but he's like trying to hone in on it, and he meets Santa at the mall and all this shit, and it's like. That's up there for the conversation of perfect Christmas movie, I think. But Polar Express, man, I feel like just like everything Christmas is supposed to be is that movie, or it represents it in that movie, Elf. Now, all right, listen, if you follow me on TikTok, I did like a ranking or a bracket of Christmas movies that I just did kind of quick, and I didn't get into the detail of it, but we're going to get into it here because this is a long form media. Okay. Elf. Another movie that I feel like at this point in life, a lot of people are like over it, and I kind of agree. It's not a movie I feel like I have to watch every year. At least for now. I think I'm going to take some years off of Elf and then come back to it. Because here's the thing. I think it is undeniable that movie is amazing. It's an incredible movie. If you like the Barbie movie and you don't like Elf, you're lying to yourself. Okay? Because guess what? They're the same movie. Did nobody realize it? It's online. People are talking about it. And I think it's a great comparison. I love both. Okay? So I'm not hating on anything here. But the Barbie movie is just Elf. You have this like adult who's playing this like fictional thing that has to go to the real world and realize it's dark and messy. Both fantastic movies. Just clearing the air here. But Elf, I feel like a lot of people, similarly to A Christmas Story, are like, we're over it. It got shoved down our throats for a couple decades now. Yeah, I think that movie's 20 years old this year. I think it was 03, and maybe it was later. I could just check this out. Guess what? I have a cell phone that tells me these things, and none of this is important or relevant to anybody's lives, but I'm on one right now, okay? I took 2 sips of coffee. I haven't spoken a single word today until right now. Yeah, 2003. I also feel like Will Ferrell, just in general, is kind of this like polarizing guy. I feel like you either like love him or you hate him. I'm indifferent. I think he's fine. At this point in my life, I do think I'm a bit over him. I think he had his... I think he's undeniably funny, but I think he had his moment in the 2000s, and he'll just pop up every once in a while, and he's chilling. Does he play the same character in every movie? Yeah. But is he really good at it? Yeah, because it's funny. And Elf, I think, is Yeah, I think that's up there for perfect Christmas movies as well. Probably a top 5 there. But there's always, I always go back and forth when I'm talking about ranking things. I don't know why I'm obsessed with ranking things, but I am. I don't know. I don't even have a speculation of what that could be. I think maybe just having like a math brain. I feel like I have to put everything into like numbers and boxes. Shout out Elf, I guess. But yeah, I am a bit over it, I think, at this point in my life. But it is really good. I think I need a break from it. I think, we'll come back to it in a little bit. But for right now, Elf is out. I'm going to say that. Because it's so good. Does that make sense? It was so good that we all were like, oh my God, Elf, 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 Elf for so long. And I was like, all right, let's tone it back. Let's find some other things to like, I started watching that movie, The Holdovers, last night. That's supposed to be like a phenomenal Christmas movie, but I started it late at night. I had a long weekend, and I fell asleep. So I'm going to finish that maybe later tonight, and maybe I'll come back next week and continue it. Yeah, this is the first time I'm speaking today, which is crazy. It's 4 p.m., but I live alone, and I got up, slept in. I had a long weekend, right? All right, Friday, I played a show with Super American. We opened for the band State Champs on their Finer Things 10-year anniversary run. They're doing 3 shows in New York City. We got to open one. It was really convenient for me because it was in New York, so I just went right from work to the show, which was really fun and convenient. Show went well. It was super fun. Played LPR, Le Poisson Rouge or something. It's a French thing. I didn't take French in school, so I don't know how to pronounce that, but I feel like you get the idea. But it's a great venue. I love it a lot. The green room is great. It sounds great. The staff is fantastic. Shout out to the staff of LPR for real. Everybody there is amazing. Which is funny that like staff is something that I definitely think like when you tour can really make or break a venue, and a lot of staff is like does not give a shit that you're there. This is just another night for them, whatever. And LPR is definitely a venue that like makes you feel welcome there, and they like are like our guest. We'll help you out with whatever you want, which is really nice. And I mean, in New York of all places, where I feel like it's this rep of like they don't give a fuck about anything. Very cool venue, and I enjoyed the show. And then, my friends, the Super American boys are here. So we were boozing a bit, came back to Brooklyn. We went out. We had a good night. They leave the next day. Yesterday was a fantastic day. It was like 60 degrees and sunny in New York, which, it's December. So I was like, all right, seasonal depression is upon us. So we got to take advantage, right? So I get up. I go out, get myself a coffee. I get a nice vegan breakfast sandwich. Went down to Domino Park, listened to a nice podcast about like mindfulness and wellness, which I enjoy to do on my weekends to kind of just like recenter, tune in with myself. And then I hit up my friend Abby, who lives a few neighborhoods over from me, because I haven't seen her in a while. And I was like, it's a beautiful day. What are you doing? And she's like, I'm sitting on the couch watching movies. I was like, it's a beautiful day. Let's go do something. So then I went over to Bushwick. We went thrift store hopping, which was real fun. Indulged in some substances. We're feeling good. And I was out and about all day, which was amazing. I took advantage of the day. And I was really happy about that. And then I went to another show at Irving Plaza again, which if you follow me on Instagram, I feel like I'm there all the time. Because that's where a lot of the tours of the bands that I am friends with / like are playing. The Homies in Arm's Length, shout out to that band. If you haven't listened to Arm's Length, highly recommend listening to them. They're opening for the bands Knuckle Puck and Real Friends. And then that band One Step Closer was on the tour. I had heard a few songs from them, but I'd never seen them live. They put on one hell of a show. And I think I'm going to start listening to that band more. They're a heavy band. I don't know. I'm not good when it comes to like defining what heavy music sounds like. I feel like I'm usually wrong. But they gave me kind of a Counterparts vibe, and I don't know if that's correct or not. But when I watched them, the first band that came to mind was Counterparts, and I like Counterparts a lot too. So I don't know what that is. Metalcore, maybe that's what they're considered. But they were great. The vocalist was phenomenal. I really enjoyed watching their set. Knuckle Puck, I haven't listened to them in a long time, but hearing them play songs from their like 2015 record, Copacetic, which was like when that album came out, I really loved it. I still do. I'm just like, I kind of faded out from that era of music, and like I forgot. It's so sick when, and I'm sure I've talked about this before, but like when you go back to music that you like forgot about, and I'm just going to like see my friends in Arm's Length play this set, and then I'm like, all right, well, I mean, I loved Knuckle Puck, when I was in my early 20s, so I'll stick around and watch their set, and then like you hear a song that you're like, damn, I fucking loved this song when it came out, and it just kind of like, brings back some memories and stuff like that, and it was really cool, and that was fun. And then I came home, and anyway, my whole point of all this was that I was exhausted after the show, because I was, I had a busy weekend, didn't sleep. You don't sleep great after you go out drinking and everything, and then was out and about all day yesterday, and then today I slept till like 11, which is like not something I do. I didn't set an alarm this morning because I knew I wanted to sleep in. Then I got up, did my things, did some grocery shopping, but I went to Whole Foods, had AirPods in the whole time, didn't interact with a single person, and then I went through self-checkout. So like kind of crazy. Like I didn't speak to anybody all day. Actually, I just remembered I talked to one staff worker because I could not for the life of me find peanut butter at Whole Foods. That store is set up, I'm sure it's different at different locations, but that store is set up so strange. It doesn't make any sense where things are. And so I asked a staff worker, and I was like, hey, can you tell me where I can find peanut butter? And he goes like this. He goes, yeah, over there. Just with his chin points to the rest of the store. And I look at, there was another staff worker there, and I looked at her to be like, did you just fucking see that? And I came back and looked at him, and I go, over where? And he goes, all the way over there by the escalators. I'm like, okay, I would have not figured that out by what you said, because you pointed in one direction with your chin that was the rest of the store and was not specific at all. But I found it. So I had one conversation. I guess I lied. It's so funny how often I wear Bills stuff on this podcast. And like people probably like, wow, he must love the Bills, which like sure, just as much as anybody else does, But the thing is, I just usually film this on Sundays. And that's when the Bills are playing. And that's when I put the stuff on, Not hopeful for the rest of the season. We're playing the Kansas City Chiefs today. By the time this comes out, the game's already going to be done. I'm expecting them to lose. And if they do lose, then we can accept that the season is over. And I can stop caring and getting my heart broken every week. I feel bad for Josh Allen. Love him so much. And if they do win somehow, then I'm back in for what they always do to me, which is play with my heartstrings right up until the end of the season. They'll do it right up to the end of the season, and then inevitably probably miss the playoffs. And then I'm like, I wasted so much of my life this year on this motherfucking team. Going back to Buffalo this week for an extended period of time. Super American is having their Christmas show at the Rec Room Saturday. What's the date on that? December 16th, I believe it is. This Saturday, with some Buffalo legends, Head North and Well Kept Things, as well as Auto Ignition, very cool new punk band from Buffalo. So that's going to be super fun. So if you're in Buffalo, I'm going to be there from the 15th on. I don't know when I'm coming back to the city. I'm trying to figure that out. But I'm going to record a bunch of episodes this week before I go back. Going back this Friday. So I'm going to bank some episodes so that they can keep coming out every Monday while I'm home, because I'm not bringing all my podcasting stuff home, because that would be a nightmare. But I'll be taking the Amtrak back on Friday. Excited about that. For my friends in Buffalo who listen to this podcast, I'm going to plug some things here because I have some events going on. The 16th is a Super American show. And then this isn't announced yet, but you're going to hear it first. The avid listeners of the I Am Your Friend podcast are getting a first exclusive here that isn't announced yet. December 29th, Allen Street Hardware. Lacking in the Bulge, Blink-182 cover band is playing, which is myself, Dan McCormick from Spaced and Super American and Pilot Field, and I think that's it for now, amongst other previous projects. And Mike Tomasulo, who was the drummer for Kill the Clock, and tour manages, I think, 68 bands year-round. And so it'll be the three of us, and then we're doing a little bit of an emo night afterwards. So if you're in town, got nothing going on, it's a Friday night, come down to Allen Street Hardware. We're going to be hanging out, playing Blink covers, and then doing an emo night after. So come drink some beers and hang out with your friends, and we're going to have a good time. And then I don't know if anybody who listens to this is in Philly, but we're playing Philly, the Fillmore in Philadelphia on December 22nd. Super American is playing with Grayscale and Aaron West and the Roaring Twenties for their holiday show, which will be fun. I love Philly, so I'm super excited for that. And then I'll be chilling in Buffalo. So any of my friends who are there, let's hang out. Additionally, I want to mention, if you are listening to this podcast, thank you as always. If you do not currently, I would really appreciate it if you could follow, subscribe, like, whatever it is, on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and YouTube. Help me get some numbers up, gives me, puts me into the algorithm a little bit more. If you could rate and review on the Apple Podcasts app, that always helps as well. Trying to get a little bit more recognition here. And yeah, 2024 is coming around, man. I'm super excited. I'm about to be a year in New York City. I'm going to do a special episode with my buddy Max Kaiser, who I've had on the podcast before, stand-up comedian from Buffalo. We moved here at pretty much the same time. And I'm going to bring him on because it's both going to be around both of our 1 year anniversaries, I guess, of being in New York City. And we're going to talk about our first year and what we've experienced and some conclusions that we've drawn about it. Max was hanging out with me a little bit yesterday when I was with my friend Abby in Bushwick. Some crazy shit I saw yesterday in Bushwick, a very different place than Williamsburg for sure. I was chilling in, I believe it's called Maria Hernandez Park, with Abby for a little bit, and there were a bunch of gentlemen on ATVs and dirt bikes or motorbikes or whatever you want to call them, doing wheelies and causing mayhem throughout the streets, and it was really loud. And I'm just watching, and they're going through the streets, whatever. And then all of a sudden there's a police helicopter above us, looking for them and following them where they go. And then there's like a bunch of undercover cops chasing them around. And I was like, this feels like I'm just in Grand Theft Auto, which is fun. But yeah, so experience that was something a bit jarring, I would say, or interesting, unique thing that I've experienced since being here. And then when Max and I were heading back from Bushwick, we were going to the train and walked by a biker gang funeral, which that was intense. It was funny. It was like literally out of a movie. Of you had these like, two very normal, come from middle class white dudes. We're just walking, it's so funny. I'm like rocking like a Carhartt and a tote bag, like very like Brooklyn, gentrified, vegan, iced coffee guy, like fitting the part. And Max and I are walking, and then all of a sudden it's just like hella dudes in their like leather jackets with their patches and very scary looking, very intimidating. There's cops on every corner, like making sure shit doesn't go down, motorcycles all over the place. And what I mean, it being out of a movie, like Max and I are walking and fully having a conversation, and then we realize what we're walking through, and we both just stop talking, and we're just like, don't say a word to each other, and just like don't make eye contact, just keep walking, so that not like anything was going to happen to us, but just an intimidating situation to be in. So that was a very interesting thing that happened as well. Also yesterday I went to this, there was like this Christmas market pop-up thing at a hotel near my apartment, and my friend Ashley, who does her own brand of press-on nails, I believe called Sad Bunny. Let me confirm that real quick because I want to definitely give her a shout out. I always like to shout out any of my friends that are doing their thing here. I really want to get her on the podcast to talk about it, but she I don't think she wants to, which is fine. Sad Bunny NY on Instagram. Really cool, unique press-on nails that she does. I would wear them myself, maybe, but I probably won't. But I support her in what she does. But she was doing her little pop-up there. That was so degrading to say little pop-up. She was doing a pop-up. She was doing her thing, and I wanted to go support her and just say hi. And so I popped in to this Christmas market thing or whatever it was, and said hi. And then I walked around and just checked out some of the other vendors, and there was these people there who were doing like this mushroom chocolate thing, and I was like, all right, I've had mushroom chocolates, I very much enjoy them, but they're like, oh, it's non-psychoactive, and I'm like, well, what are we doing here, but basically I don't remember what exactly they explained it, but how I figured out was like, how there's like CBD to THC, and CBD is like non-psychoactive marijuana or cannabis or whatever that like gives you the medical benefits, so it's like it makes you feel good, but it's like not as fun. So like whatever that is, the equivalent to that for mushrooms is like what they had. So it was like, I had a sample of it. It was vegan chocolate, which I appreciated. And the chocolate was actually really good, but it was like an ultra micro dose, and then when I was on the train to go hang out with my friend Abby, I like felt it and I was like, I actually feel something happening here. Not like, it basically felt like the most subtle microdose you could possibly do. But it was like, I feel really good and calm and happy, and this is nice. And that was really interesting. So I might, I found their Instagram, so I might have to go find that and purchase some more. Sorry if my voice sounds a little stuffy here. The weather's been weird here, where it's gone from like really cold to moderately warm, and now it's like rainy and gloomy today. So now my sinuses are all like, what the hell is going on? So anyway, I like going on the Christmas theme. I might talk about it a little bit more. What's funny is because we're around the season here, the next few episodes might just be talking about Christmas, but it's fun, unless you guys don't like it. Oh, another thing I want to plug. This is going to be an episode of plugs. We're going to call it Christmas movie and shameless self-promotion. The podcast. You can message the podcast anonymously if you want, or you can put your name if you want to. But if you go into any of my social media profiles on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok, you can go on and go to my link tree. And right at the top it says message the podcast, and it's just like a little, and it has an option for your name, but you don't have to put anything there, or you can make up a name or put your own name or whatever. And if you have a thought that you were like, oh, this is interesting, I wonder if anybody else thinks about this, or whatever, or you just want to ask a general question, or even like an advice thing. I always thought an advice column would be kind of fun. Remember that Drake and Josh episode where Josh would dress up as a woman and do an advice column? I think it was Ask Nancy or something like that. I related to that as a kid. I was like, I would want to do that, It's always been in me. I just like helping people. I'm not going to get into the specifics of it, but there was a thing recently I went through where I gave advice to somebody that was about them dealing with another person. And it was sound advice. It was good advice. It's advice I'd give to anybody. But now the person that I gave the advice about doesn't like me or something, or is mad at me. I don't know. The vibes are weird now. That's the funny thing about moving to a new place. You start to build these relationships with some people, and you realize some of them might not be the best, which is fine. We're all different people. We all have our shit. We're not going to connect with everybody. But I think I've struggled with, this is not to talk down about anybody else. This is more of just like my experience of a thing I've struggled with, of like desperately wanting to be liked my whole life. And normally if something were like this to happen, where like I gave honest advice to somebody about dealing with another person, and then it got back to that person's like, now like, well, why did you tell them that kind of thing? I would be upset with myself, and I'm like, oh no, I upset somebody. And now it's going to eat at me, and now I'm going to change who I am, how I act, what I value in order to please that person so that they're not mad at me anymore. But that didn't happen this time. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's fine because I didn't do anything wrong. And that's a them problem. Just something I realized in myself that I'm like, oh yeah, I know I didn't do anything wrong. And I know I gave solid advice to my friend to help them deal with a difficult situation. And I'm not sorry about that. And I feel confident in that. And now, and I don't care if that person is upset with me about it, you know? And that's a freeing feeling to think for something that I've struggled with for a long time. And that's nice. I was talking about this recently with a friend of how moving to New York has really taken a shot to my ego, which I like wanted, which I knew was going to happen. And that was like part of me moving here. And so I feel like I've gotten to a good place in like handling my ego, but it's also given me great confidence, like true confidence. And just like who I am and what I value and what I represent. And I mean, maybe like, I feel like living alone does that as well. 'Cause you just are forced to like learn completely about yourself when there's nobody else around. It just in like the year that I've been here of like, even the way I feel when I'm like walking to the train station from my apartment. You know, I remember when I first moved here and I just was like anxious and nervous and I'm like, nobody look at me. And just, you know, was always like on edge of like, do I look weird? Am I dressed weird? You know, like, do people know I'm not from here? Am I in anybody's way? You know, kind of stuff. And now at this point, I'm like, I don't think about that at all. And I'm just like completely just like feel like I'm just comfortable in my own skin. And I know, and I kind of have developed a good foundation, especially have found some good people that I have gotten close to in my life that are here. And yeah, I don't know. Just a quick little tidbit on some good things that I've been feeling, you know. It's nice. There's this book I really want to read called The Courage to Be Disliked. That's been on my Goodreads list for a while. But I'm so bad at reading, you know. I've got some books chilling over here that like I bought months ago. The last book I read was this book called The Subterraneans by Jack Kerouac. And it's kind of tough to get through. His writing style is really unique, and he like doesn't use proper grammar or punctuation, which like I kind of get. My friend Pat recommended it to me, and kind of described him as like a jazz artist, and how he is an author, you know, which makes sense. Like it's like he doesn't really play by the rules and kind of just does his own style, but it's kind of hard to figure out. It's hard to like find his voice, but it was a good book. For what like I could follow of it, but then after that I haven't read anything since, and have been spending way too much time on my phone per usual because that's how I am. But that is a book I think I really want to read. I find myself going back and forth between like I either really love like old American fiction novels or like self-help books, and there's really no in between. So we talked about Christmas movies a little bit. What else do I want to talk about? Christmas music. I don't know, man. I don't know if there's any Christmas music I really like. The Beach Boys Christmas album, I think, is probably it. And that's just because I fucking love the Beach Boys. So I like the, Little Saint Nick by the Beach Boys. It's going to be my number one, probably. I like the Beach Boys Christmas album. Mariah Carey, sure. I don't hate it. It's fine. It's just like, it's everywhere you go, My girlfriend was here. We went and did a bunch of Christmas stuff in Manhattan, and it's just like once you get like uptown or you're in like Midtown, which is where all where the Rockefeller tree is and everything. And if you like, I get the TikToks because of my location, but if you look up like Christmas in New York on TikTok, and like there's apparently like people are saying like this is the most people they've ever seen in Midtown for Christmas stuff, because it's crazy, dude. Like going to the Christmas markets and stuff, it's like shoulder to shoulder. It's insane. And like trying to go see the Rockefeller tree is just like absurd. Like it's like survival of the fittest of like trying to get there, and it was an absurd situation, but it's a nice tree, I gotta say. Good tree. Liked looking at it. Yeah, when we were going to see the tree in Rockefeller, it's just like every vendor on the street that's trying to sell like whatever, like everybody's just blasting the Mariah Carey song. So it is a little obnoxious. It's the same way how I feel about Elf, you know what I mean? It doesn't make it bad, It's just like, all right, can we chill, you know? Can we switch the song up maybe, you know? Can we throw in a couple Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays by NSYNC? You know, that's an underrated one. I like that one. But yeah, other than that, I don't know. I'm not a huge Christmas music guy. The old stuff, the crooners stuff. Is that the right word? The crooners? You know, the 40s, 50s type stuff, the classics, Nat King Cole and all that. I appreciate those, I guess. It's also funny how I go back and forth between like sipping the Christmas Kool-Aid, if you will, like falling into it, being like, yeah, like this is the best, getting cozy, watching the movies, listening to the music, doing all the stuff. But then you realize like it all is like just like marketing. As I talk about all these like issues going on in the world in this podcast a lot, and I am very much in, you know, a outwardly expressive anti-capitalist, and then I'm also like, but I love Christmas, you know, kind of goes against a lot of the things I stand for. Christmas music in general, you know, when it like in like the 50s and 60s, whatever, like post World War II, when it was all popping off, like, yeah, that's because like it was all being paid for by companies that wanted to sell shit, and they wanted to create this like Christmas image. Same thing with like, you know, Coca-Cola. Let's just go on that point alone, that the image of Santa Claus that we all have in our head was created by Coca-Cola, who is one of like the biggest companies in the US, you know, or probably the world, like one of the most profitable companies. And so yeah, like the whole idea of like what we know about Christmas and how we feel about it, like was just all marketed to us, you know. But I think it's good. You can find a good balance, I guess. You know, it's okay to like, you got to find just the most wholesome moments and not give in to or not think about the bullshit behind it, I guess. I think that's okay. We're all trying our best out here. That might be like a good thing that comes out of it, is that like it is the time of year when I think a lot of people do feel like a little bit more willing to like help people out. Maybe that's because it gets dark and cold, and like we subconsciously know that, so you're like, all right, it's, you know, help people out a little bit more, like be a little bit kinder, try to be a little bit nicer. There is definitely the flip side of it too, where people are ironically more selfish during it, because it's all about like, I want this, I want this, I want this. You know, so that's the flip side of that coin. But, you know, I think if you lean into that, the good side of it, it's a nice time of year. And, you know, to be around family and friends. If your family sucks, that's, you know, then maybe it's a little bit harder for you. But I hope that you can find, you know, the good people in your life to recreate what the image of Christmas is to you and the holidays. I don't know. It's nice to look at it from an angle of, like I mentioned before, it's a very like cold, dark time of year, where it's easy for things get harder. So I think it's nice to have like just a reason to try to find some light, and try to surround yourself with people you do enjoy, rather than be forced to spend your time around people who make your life harder. And just a reason to celebrate with each other, you know? Same thing with New Year's, man. I fucking love New Year's. I know, like, it all is surrounding just, like, a man-made concept of, like, documenting time. But I do love the New Year as a reason to kind of look back on your last revolution around the sun as yourself and in, like, your community, in your society, whatever. To kind of be like, all right, this is what I achieved. This is what I would like to work on, you know, just to have a reason, you know, even if it's based in things that aren't necessarily real or whatever. They can, you know, you can make them real for you, and it's nice to have a reason to just set some goals, you know. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people shit on New Year's resolutions or whatever. Like, there's people who work out all year long and you know, get mad that at the beginning of the year people are working out and like, you know, filling up the space at the gym or whatever. But I think it's good. You should be happy for people. It gives people, maybe some of them will stay, maybe, you know, most of them probably won't. They go back to their old habits, whatever, but they feel a little bit determined to try something new, to feel better about themselves. And I think that's a good thing, you know. Now, I will not be doing that. At this point in my life right now, I've kind of taken a back seat for putting working out into my life. There was definitely time. I've gone through phases in my life where like I was working out regularly. I feel like 2019 specifically, like summer of 2019. And I think it was because my mental health was so bad. I like couldn't think of any other option. And I think, and this might be like a specifically like, male oriented thing to do, that it's like, okay, I'm just going to start working out. Because it does help. It's like, and it's probably the easiest thing. It's easier to work out, you know, to do some like physical work than it is to do mental work. So it was like, I started working out just to like try not to feel so depressed, and it definitely helped. It definitely worked, especially when I got into a routine of it where I was working out pretty regularly, and like seeing results, you know, and then feeling better about myself. So that was nice for that reason. You know, and then I just prioritize other things over working out, you know? And now that I moved here, I can't really, like, gyms here are really expensive. Obviously, this is a very small apartment. I can't really work out in here. And I don't dedicate the time to it. And I'm saying that's okay. I don't really care. I get my steps in every day. I walk everywhere. I eat healthy. I'm doing enough, you know? At some point in my life, if I can afford a gym and I have time to actually like fit it into my schedule, I'll start working out regularly again. But right now I'm chilling. But yeah, but for resolutions, maybe I'll do an episode later this week that'll come out around New Year's, that I'll talk more about resolutions and stuff. I'll do like a whole episode about that. But right now what I'm leaning towards, I really think every year I try to do something kind of big for a year. You know, I did a year without buying any new clothes. I mean, I guess moving to New York and starting a new life counts as something. You know, I did a year of veganism, which started, I mean, now it's been 2 years, but it started out as something I just wanted to try, and I started it towards the end of the year, and then I was like, all right, my New Year's resolution is to continue being vegan for an entire year. And now I've done it for 2 years, and I'm just going to keep going. But this year I might try to step it up and do 2024 no booze, which I think will be really tough. But I'm doing it from more of like an economic standpoint of like to save money. If I can, because I'll still go out with my friends, but if I go out and just drink like water or soda water, whatever, or soda, and just not spend so much money on alcohol. Because the thing is, once I start spending money on alcohol, then it like spirals, because then all of a sudden I just forget that the plastic card in my wallet is like actual money and not just a fun toy to just keep putting alcohol into your body. Yeah, I haven't decided if I'm going to actually go through with it, but that is something I'm considering, is 2024 no booze. And just go Colorado sober. California sober is sober from everything except for weed. I think Colorado sober is sober from everything except for weed and mushrooms. I think that's a thing. Maybe I'll just go become like a heavy mushroom guy for 2024. That'll be my other resolution. Get rid of alcohol and just do mushrooms all the time. Not actually. I'm joking. But who knows? Shout out everybody here for listening. Shout out Christmas. Shout out the holidays. I hope everybody is getting through the season all right. If there's a perspective you want to provide compared to anything that I've talked about today, or just want to give your opinion on anything, use that message to the podcast submission form that's in the link tree that's on my social media sites. Thank you so much for listening again, and I hope y'all have a great week, and you'll hear from me soon.